Today on the Tiger Lacrosse Report, we'll preview the Tigers game on the road against the Hofstra Pride. Get ready, fans. The Tiger Lacrosse Report starts now. Hello and welcome back for today's episode of the Tiger Lacrosse Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum. The Tigers will hit the road this weekend up to Hempstead, New York to take on the Pride of Hofstra. To preview the contest, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Sonia LaMonica. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So, when you talk about Hofstra, you can't really start anywhere other than Alyssa Perella, the freshman for them. She is a stat sheet stuffer, 34 goals, 22 assists, 17 caused turnovers, 44 draw controls.
Yeah.
She's really good.
She's doing it all for Hofstra, and she's a great player, and she's going to have a great career. So, we've got to make sure that we keep her in check for sure. They've certainly got other players out in the field. I think, more than anything, we just need to focus on doing the things that we've been working on to a high level and executing well. So that'll be our focus.
As good as she is, and they do have other scorers on that team, other difference makers on that team, they're still looking for their first CAA win. They had a close loss to Drexel, and then they fall 17-9 to Delaware.
Yeah.
Does that change a team once you get in the conference play, and you're now 0-2 in the conference, and only 4 teams make it into CAA play? And does desperation start to set in? Does the team maybe get a little more aggressive, or they get a little laid back, or passive, I should say?
I think everyone can feel the pressure in conference. So, every game really is important, and as those games go, the pressure can mount. For us personally, I can't speak for what other coaches are feeling and thinking, but we just try to go one game at a time and stay focused on what we can control, and that it'll be important for us that we take care of business moving forward. We've got some important conference games, and it's really key if we want to, 1, get to our conference championships, and 2, go beyond that to the NCAA tournament. We've got to make sure that through this regular season conference play that we're doing our due diligence, that we are playing how we can play and not playing anything otherwise. We can't accept, mediocre play. We have to play to a high standard if we want to continue to go further than we've ever gone before, and to compete on Memorial Weekend, which, is certainly a goal for us. So we've got to make sure we do our job.
They're averaging 10 goals against. They're giving up 10 goals a game. Your offense is starting to hit their stride now, especially coming off that Elon game.
Yeah.
And we said in the last show, you don't think your team has hit or has played their best offensive game. So when you see a team that's maybe struggling a little bit now that they're in the conference play, they're giving up 10 a game, do you try to really up the pressure, or do you just stay the course as normal?
We've got to stay the course. I think that's something that feels natural to me. We've got to stay the course. We've got to buy into what we're doing, know that we are on track, and as long as we focus on those controllables for us and not worry too much about the things that we really can't control, that takes a little pressure off, that allows the focus to channel where it needs to, which is, on those little things offensively, whether it's making sure off ball that we're doing a good job of depending what type of defense we're seeing, but off ball movement, making sure our spacing is good, making sure that, we're moving our feet when we're moving the ball and not just standing and being static, which is something that we have done offensively in the past, and it doesn't bode well when we do that. So those are the little things that when we just focus on, as an individual, the little things that I need to do out in the field, and if everybody is doing that, doing their job, then it all comes together, and that the great offensive work that shows at the end of the game takes care of itself.
They play James Madison prior to the game against you. It's a tough turnaround for them there, and they do get to play you at home. They're on the road at James Madison, but they're going to be coming in a little, perhaps wounded, a little less tired maybe perhaps after having to run against James Madison, and then it's a tough stretch having to play you, or James Madison and you, the two top teams in the conference.
Yeah.
Mentally, does that do anything to a team having this tough of a stretch with the two best teams in the conference?
I think that is a tough schedule for Hofstra. Absolutely, there's no question about it. You've got two teams that have a lot of scoring weapons. Who are playing great lacrosse and have come off doubleheader wins. That's a tough body of work for Hofstra. But at the same time, I mean, really, they've got nothing to lose. So I don't think we can't hold back. We can't assume anything. Sometimes teams play their best when their backs are against the wall. So we can't afford to overlook anybody. And Hofstra is certainly a team that we're not about to do that with.
We mentioned in the last show Montalbano starting to hit her stride now, but as we also said, the offense as a whole, Gillingham, Telecamp, Samonte, everyone's really starting to hit it. When you have players like Kaitlin Montalbano, like Carly Telecamp, like Natalie Samonte, and then you're getting ready to go up against a player like Alyssa Perella, can you use one of your strong players to say, well, she does this very similar to so-and-so, can we use that almost as a self-scout and have Kaitlin mimic what Perella might do, have Carly mimic what Perella might do, and does it have an advantage for your defense having to go against your offense?
We've certainly, in the past, if there are particular players have particular tendencies or styles of how they play, we will try to mimic that through our 7v7s and whatnot and scouts, but we're trying to go overboard with it either. I think particularly for our defensive system, it's less about what other teams the individuals and keying up on certain numbers that you might do in more of a man-to-man defense, and a little more for us about, as I've said over and over before, making sure that the fundamentals of our system is being done well. And there might be some hotspot areas that we've got to be aware of, but if we overcompensate too much, then we're going to open up too big a holes in other spots, and teams will adjust as they go through the game. So it really comes down to just us continuing to dot our I's, cross our T's through our system, and whether there's one key player on a team or there's three key players on a team, that doesn't necessarily affect our system to a strong degree if we're doing the little things well that we should be doing.
You've mentioned it in press conferences before. Angie Benson and Kylie Keating have a very good relationship. Angie, the starter. Kylie, though, she can come in at a moment's notice and take you through the rest of the way, similar to what happened with William and Mary. Their dynamic and their individual chemistry each with your defensive unit. How seamless is it whether it's Angie in the net or Kylie in the net?
Pretty seamless. I think at this point in the season, Angie's garnered quite a bit more experience. In going from game to game. And playing some big opponents. Kylie's certainly seen a good amount as a freshman. It's. I don't have too many concerns about a certain point in the game getting Kylie out there, and I don't feel like our level is going to drop. Our level of play is going to drop too much. Kylie's been outstanding in her own right, and there are things that she does well, and some things that she can continue to work on, and that's going to be the case for any goalie, especially a freshman who's coming in as a backup more or less. But really excited for her future, again, when you see your starter coming off and really cheering on her teammate and her comrade, that's a special thing, and that's great to watch, and I think that helps both of them, continue to help each other instead of, in some situations, players are working against each other a little bit. So I think it's very authentic, their relationship. It's not, fake. It's definitely authentic, which is great.
All right. The Tigers and Pride are scheduled for a 1 o'clock opening draw. Head over to TowsonTigers.com for more info on how you can follow along with the action. Coach, thanks for joining us. Good luck against Hofstra.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for us on today's episode of the Tiger Lacrosse Report. For head coach Sonia LaMonica, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. Thanks for joining us, and as always, go Tigers.